Hey everybody, it's Steve with Real Progressives. You know, there's some things that are bothering us all, go way beyond this election. But they're very important because if we don't fix them now, if we don't understand them now, we won't be prepared to fight them when the battle really rages on. As it stands right now, this election has gobbled up almost all of our collective resources. Every single one of our minds has been wrapped around this ridiculous election cycle. But what is the most important thing that we're facing right now as a country? Is it the environment? Is it racial justice? Is it the wars that we're about to fight? Is it the drug war? Is it education? Is it Medicare for all? What exactly is the most important issue? Is it election fraud? No, folks. The root of all these things, the thing that causes people to fight for power, the thing that causes them all to cause us to go bonkers and crazy trying to fight through this stuff, is economics. You had to know that was coming. You had to know it was coming from me. But it is, and I'll tell you why. I live in a very, very heavily Trump-centric area. An area that despises Hillary more than they hate the devil. They go to church, they don't hear about, the evil Satan. They go and they hear about the evil Clinton. But the one thing these people do is they're open to ideas. They just hate what's going on in our government right now. They hate what's going on in our country. So many of them are just as ignorant as many of the progressives are, who have the right sensibilities but don't understand the issues. And so they fight and they fight and they fight about things that are above their pay grade, that are beyond their knowledge base, but they have been told the wrong things, and therefore they continue to say things and fight things and vote ways that absolutely are against their self-interest. The thing that would create a tsunami of support in this nation is if we understood basic economics. Basic economics, folks. And what's happened is this. Hillary is a Democrat. So to the Republicans, what does that make her? She's a socialist, right? She's naturally got to be a red-baiting socialist. She's just freaking commie central, right? Well, as somebody who's red as can be and far left, I assure you she's not. But her plans all involve these programs. She talks about programs and giving certain people certain things and stuff like that. And then she talks about how we're going to pay for it, right? And that's what gets the Trumpers, that's what gets the regular GOP people out of their minds. First of all, they hate the idea that only certain people are going to get benefits. They despise that. The other thing they hate is the idea that while they're working really, really hard and they're not getting any of the government programs that are available out there, they watch somebody who in their mind is not working nearly as hard and getting all these perks and benefits from their hard-earned tax dollar. So as Hillary goes out there and presents these programs, the reason why Hillary is able to get away with this stuff is because she talks about how she's going to fund them, which is bullshit. Every bit of it's bullshit. But she gives off just of enough fake left-wing rhetoric that people don't know any better. So because they don't know better, they don't do better. And therefore they end up fighting with Trumpers about things that they shouldn't even be fighting with them about. Because the reality is, say it with me, class, taxes don't fund spending. So while we sit there and debate these issues back and forth, I can empirically prove this. It's not even difficult. But it just requires you to open your mind. And you've got to want to make progress more than you want to hold on to your old myths. And the reason why this is so crucial right here, right now, is because if Hillary Clinton gets elected, I'm already fighting with people now who sit there and say that we're pro-Trump, who sit there and call me a Trumper. Folks, I am far from a Trumper. They sit there and call us all kinds of right-wing names. Fact of the matter is that we're as left as you can get. The thing is that we understand economics. So when I talk to a Trumper one-on-one, and I say to him just point blank, I say, what if I could get you Medicare for your children, Medicare for all? What if I could make it so that your kids could go to school for free and I didn't have to jack up your taxes? Would you be listening? And they're like, well, yeah, absolutely. But, you know, they only give that to those people over there. They don't give those kind of benefits to people like me. You know, only those people over there. So you see how the system breeds animosity in and of itself. They already are looking over there at those people, whoever those people are. And they're wondering why they're still struggling and why they can't make their bills. And why they're being told their taxes are going to go up to pay for these programs. So now you've got this inherent, built-in bias against any kind of sustainable government citizen benefits. And that will continue to be the case for as long as we're a country that believes that federal taxes fund federal spending. You can get bored of the subject. You cannot listen to me on the subject. You can choose to go ahead and scream and yell about all your old former Democratic sensibilities. But the reality is, the minute you realize it's more important to have single-payer health care than it is to raise taxes, that's when you'll be able to make headway and you'll start being able to erode any kind of right-wing sensibilities. That's when you'll be able to debunk people like Gary Johnson, who on their website, you can check it for yourself if you don't believe me, talk about how it's the most important thing in the world that we do is going ahead and putting out there a balanced budget. A federal balanced budget would cripple our nation in a way that you have no idea. It's like taking the shock absorbers off your car and going four-wheeling. It's the most ridiculously stupid, non-economically viable idea you've ever seen. First of all, it's not feasible. It's not possible even. But second of all, whenever you tax, whenever you reduce spending, what is that called? You know it from Europe. It's called austerity. So if you thought that Greece hated austerity, and you think that Puerto Rico hates austerity, and you think that Detroit is suffering from austerity, imagine what the entire nation would do under people who lie to you and tell you that we've got to raise taxes to afford things, who tell you we can't afford things without raising taxes. This election cycle, it's going to be over in a minute. It doesn't matter who wins at this point in that sense. Even if Jill won, it wouldn't matter. You'd still have to fight this battle. This is a forever battle. This is a huge battle that you must get your arms wrapped around if you genuinely want to make progress. So, I don't know how to make you guys get it other than to keep repeating it. But the fact of the matter is that our federal government is monetarily sovereign. Whether you like the Federal Reserve, whether you say, oh, it's a private institution, banking cartels, Rothschilds. Doesn't matter what you say about that. Facts have an unbiased way of being true. You have a freaking crazy fetish with saying things that are unactionable. You can't take action on. There's this weird fetishizing of doing nothing. There's this weird fetishizing of being an incompetent conspiracy spinner instead of deciding to own your own power and make change. The level of effort you put in to learn things that are incorrect, if you could only shift that around to learn the things that are correct, we would have change in this country. It comes down to a desire. You have to desire to learn. You have to desire to want better for your children. You have to desire to want to fix the climate. This election cycle will be over in about, 3 minutes. And this whole taxes fund spending thing is going to be around long after you've cast your ballot. Do you want to be right? Do you want to fix this stuff? or do you want to keep marching in place? This is the most important thing. Florida is going underwater right now because of climate change. You have all sorts of issues, massive storms that are going to be coming as a direct result of climate change. How could we, as citizens of the United States, force our government to fix that? They're going to say, well, how do we pay for that? If you say a carbon tax, I have to get on the top rope and drop the elbow on you because taxes don't fund spending. So how are you going to pay for it, Mr. and Mrs. Citizen? Answer the question, how are you going to pay for it? Are you going to raise taxes on Wall Street to pay for it? Is that what you think you're going to do? Do you think that you're going to raise taxes on corporations to make them pay their fair share of taxes? Do you think that's going to pay for the spending? No? I didn't think so, because taxes don't fund spending, right? Do you think that we're going to cut spending to Israel and that's going to somehow or another pay for it? Do you think your hard-earned tax dollars are going to Israel? No. We've got to make sure that people understand on the right side of the aisle as well as on the left side of the aisle that taxes don't fund spending, or you will literally see no changes. And this will be the same kangaroo court of world bullshit that we have, the Banana Republic of the United States, if you don't decide to learn this stuff. It is a decision, folks. Have you made your decision for Christ? That's where we're at with this. You have got to make a decision to learn basic. I mean, when I talk about basic, I'm not talking about the detailed stuff, folks. I'm talking about basics. If you believe taxes fund spending, if you believe that, then that's where your battle will be forever. You will never get past it, ever. It's done, full stop. It is the beginning and the ending of the discussion about TPP. It's the beginning. Because let me ask you a question. Who do you think pays the fines from TPP? Do you think that's hard-earned taxpayer dollars that pay for the fines of TPP? Let's talk about that. Do you think it's the fines being paid by tax dollars for TPP? If you believe that, go sit in the corner and write 1,001 times on the board, taxes don't fund spending. And a fine is spending by another name. So these are the things you must learn so that we can actually take the fight to the right places. Taxes are necessary. Taxes drive money. If you don't pay your taxes in US dollars, you go to jail. If you bring pig ears or pigtails or pig hooves or friggin' deer antlers to pay your taxes, or gold or diamonds, guess what they do? They send you packing. They send you to jail. You've got to have US dollars to pay your taxes. But taxes do not fund spending. No amount of taxes are going to fund any programs. You're not repurposing them. They're not being redistributed. There is no Robin Hood here. Do you understand that? There is no piggy bank with crumpled up old dollar bills. Social Security's not broke. This is the foundation of every one of your arguments. Every single argument you have, I've just answered in spades. Without even getting deep into formulas or any crazy theories or anything else, I have just told you point blank that the nation can spend money. That it's not your tax dollars. You don't have to worry about raising taxes. When you heard Clinton talking about how this person wants to cut taxes and so forth, I bet you were like, yeah. So you probably thought that that was a really, really important part of this, right? You really did. But the fact of the matter is that it wasn't a really important part of it. It was just their way of keeping you stupid, keeping you in the dark, keeping you blind and keeping you out of the know so that they could continue to control you by talking about taxes, funding, spending. That's how they do it over and over again. At some point in time, you're going to get so sick of this debate that you're going to take the time to learn the basics. If you don't do that, we're lost for good. So we, as a nation, have to make a decision to learn these things. or the environment is toast, literally, because they're going to continue pushing petro fuel, because guess what? You've let them believe that the taxes fund spending. You're going to not solve any of these diseases out there, because as long as there is a profit motive, they're only going to solve the diseases that make them profit. The minute you decide that taxes don't fund spending and you realize it, is the minute our government can start investing in R&D for some of these other lesser illnesses and ailments that right now are currently untreatable. There are so many things that you're screwing the pooch on by repeating this whole thing about your hard-earned tax dollars. So it's time for you to make a decision that you really, truly want to be a progressive, and that you truly care more about people having health care than you do about taxing everybody under the sun. Because what? Taxes don't fund spending. This is Steve with Real Progressives, hoping you learned what the most important issue our nation is facing today. It is the root of all of them. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.